Good morning and welcome to the excitement that has to do with business. It's Business 360 and my name is Blyden Ukem. In Business 360 today, we'll look at some of the biggest stories in the world of business, one of it being that the UK is set to reduce tariffs on products from Nigeria. Also, Aliko Dangote presses Tinubu amid concerns with the policies from many, but he says Tinubu is doing well despite losing Africa's richest ports. Also, Elon Musk says Tesla will be in India as soon as possible, and we begin from there. Tesla CEO Elon Musk has said the electric car maker will be in India as soon as possible, as soon as humanly possible, according to his words. His comments followed a meeting with Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, who is on a state visit to the US. The Indian government said it had invited Mr. Musk to explore investment opportunities in electric mobility and the commercial space and sector. Mr. Musk said he was trying to figure out the right timing to make that happen. In Africa, during a visit to Tunis, French Interior Minister Gerald Darmanin said that France will provide Tunisia with 25.8 million euros to assist it in shopping, rather in stopping boats, trafficking, and migrants across the Mediterranean. Tunisia grapples with increasing migrant departures as European countries face political unrest. Financial support from the EU and France aims to assist Tunisia's struggling economy and address the migrant crisis in Tunisia. Still in Africa, a grant of $485,000 from the Urban and Municipal Development Fund, UMDF, of the African Development Bank has been awarded for a solar electricity project in Namibia and upgrading program to directly assist nearly 200,000 people in Windhoek lacking access to power. Solar Energy Initiative in Windhoek's undeserved communities aims to unlock economic potentials and improve residents' quality of life. So talking about businesses around Africa, according to a recent research, Kenya loses an average of 71 billion shilling in taxes yearly as a result of development of the sale of illicit alcohol in the nation, which has expanded significantly in value since 2020, reaching over 67 billion shilling. The affordability of illicit alcohol compared to legal beverages, driven by factors such as low production costs, high taxes on legal drinks, and easy accessibility through various outlets, contributes to its growing popularity. To tackle this issue, the research recommends enforcing stricter laws that criminalize participation in the production, distribution, or sale of illicit alcohol. Let's talk about Nigerian businesses and its outlook. The United Kingdom has announced its readiness to cut tariffs on products from Nigeria and other developing countries. According to a statement released on Monday by the British High Commission in Abuja, the step was to restore trading rules and save businesses and consumers millions of pounds a year. This came following the country's new post-Brexit Developing Countries Trading Scheme, a scheme covering not less than 60 nations and commencing action today. Sounds like good news from that standpoint for developing countries as well as Nigeria in it. On the other hand, despite losing his first position as Africa's richest person due to the Naira devaluation, the chairman of the Dangote Group, Aliko Dangote, has praised policies of President Bola Tinubu. Dangote dropped to second on the list of Africa's richest people as South African billionaire Johan Rupert, worth $11.8 billion, and as of Tuesday displaced the Nigerian businessman. In a media report on Tuesday, Dangote said, "All is going on well," adding that he thinks the president is doing a good job. He said, "There will be more money now to put into education, health, infrastructure, and other areas, and our role is to support him achieve his vision." Dangote said he and Gates, who is also a co-chair of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation, visited Tinubu to congratulate him and also brief him on the activities of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation as well as Aliko Dangote Foundation in Nigeria. We'll go on a short break. When we return, Business 360 continues. Don't go away. Welcome back. It's Business 360. My name is Blyden Rukemi, talking about Nigeria's exports. The value of Nigeria's export may rise to at least 41.99 trillion naira per year, following the Central Bank of Nigeria's floating of the naira. Following the move, the naira fell from its 471 per dollar to 664 naira per dollar and closed the week later at 663 naira per dollar. The weakening of the naira against the dollar means exporters, especially the federal government, will make more revenue in terms of the naira from exports of dollar processed. According to the International Trade Center, Nigeria's total exports in 2022 price of the dollar as of December 30, 2022 on the CBN's website, its naira equivalent was 28.41 trillion naira. But now, using Friday's rate of 663 naira per dollar, its naira equivalent would translate to 41.99 trillion naira for exports. Let's talk about external debt burden in Nigeria. The external debt burden of the 36 states and the Federal Capital Territory on Tuesday, June 13th, a day before the CBN changed its foreign exchange policy, the total external debt stock of states was $4.46 billion, an equivalent of 2.09 trillion naira at 471 naira per dollar as of the end of December 2022, according to data from the Debt Management Office. By Friday, the debt stock, while retaining its dollar value per dollar. This means the states will need revenue in local currency to pay their foreign obligations, and that's concerning. It would be a good time to move to global economy and talk about economic data all around the world, beginning with economic calendar, expected data releases for today. Let's look at the calendar and see what the outlook is this morning. The economic calendar has indicated some data outline for Japan according to Reuters Tankan Index for June. As highlighted with red at 7 a.m. in the morning, inflation rates year-on-year for May in Great Britain came out at 8.7%, staying within the 8.7% previously, though the focus was 8.5%. Let's look at further outline in the economic data for the rest of the day on what the statistics would be. By 3 p.m., the Fed Chair Powell will give a testimony. Also around 3 p.m., there will be outlines for the Producers' Price Index year-on-year for Russia, as at 5 p.m. Previous standing was a negative 12.7%. Investors will be looking forward to the speeches as well as the outcome in Producer Price Index in Russia. Talking about statistics and data across the world, let's look at German population, as German population rises the most in 30 years. Germany's population grew by 1.12 million or 1.3% to 84.4 million in 2022 after a meager 0.1% increase the year before. It was the largest annual surge in population numbers since the country's unification over 3 decades ago, primarily attributed to a notable influx of 1.46 million individuals through net immigration, mainly caused by the refugee movement from Ukraine. This represented a significant increase compared to the 329,000 recorded in 2021. Similar to previous years, the number of dates exceeded the number of births in 2022. The disparity between dates and birth further widened to 327,000 compared to 228,000 in 2021. It would be a good time to look at the charts indicating Germany's population. The chart. Germany's population has been increasing on a steady. As at 2014, it stood at 81.2 and went further upward to 82.52 in 2016, 82.52 million in 2016 rather. 2018, it stood at 83.02 million, and 2020, 83.16, and 2022, 84.4, and further going higher. Inflation goes up, it's indicative that there could be more labor force. On the other hand, there could also be more consumer spending. But when the GDP isn't strong enough to cater for the population, it could be concerning from that angle. Let's talk about UK's inflation rates. The British inflation rate held at 8.7% in May, unchanged from April's 13-month low, but above forecasts of 8.4%. The rate remained also significantly higher than the Bank of England's target of 2%, adding to concerns about the stickiness at a faster pace of 7.1%, the most since March 1992. Let's move to the chart and see what United Kingdom's inflation rate is over time, the standings and the charts. Inflation rates in the UK was 10.1% in July 2022, went further upward to a peak point of 11.1%, indicating a higher cost for commodities and a weakening of the British pound. But it began to slow down to 10.1% in January 2023, with some ups and downs, dropping to 8.7% and remaining 8.7% in May, indicating an improvement in the cost as well as the standard of living for the Brits. Let's talk about Africa's perspective. South Africa's annual inflation rate eased further to a 13-month low of 6.3% in May 2023, down from 6.8% in April and below market forecast of 6.5%, moving closer to the upper limits of the South Africa's Reserve Bank's target range of categories recorded lower annual inflation rates in May, with the exception of sugar, sweets and desserts, and cold beverages. Prices also softened for transportation, of which fuel, household content and services, alcoholic beverages and tobacco, and recreation, as well as culture. The annual core inflation, which excludes prices of food and non-alcoholic beverages, fuel and energy, eased to. Let's also move to the chart and see the standings regarding South Africa's inflation rates, if there's improvement or not over time. As of July 2022, inflation stood at 7.8% in South Africa, but it's been on a decline, a slow decline. By October 2022, it stood at 7.6% and dropped to 6.9% in January, amid the power sector struggle. But of commodities, the quality of living, as well as the South African rand. As at April 2023, inflation in South Africa stood at 6.8% and dropping currently to 6.3%. Let's talk about the commodity market. Beginning with energy market commentary by Bob Isino. WTI dropped yesterday below $70 amid increased Russian crude exports and broad demand concerns. Bob Isino will give us outline in this one. Let's hear from Bob.
In the energy quadrant, taking a look at a weak start for the August WTI crude oil futures contracts. Crude heads lower again after breaking $70 on the low. WTI is now down 3 of the last 4 sessions, but stays slightly above the middle range of that downward sloping channel that it has been in since August 29th of last year. On the close today, about 71.27, right in that range, down about 0.9%, much better than the 69.76 low that we saw today. I mentioned that we had broken 70 on the low stay, and on the high, 72.38. So decent moves in both directions, but finished with a little bit of weight on that crude oil contract. Russian crude is part of the reason. Russian crude oil exports are still 250,000 barrels per day higher than in February. Looking back to February, that was when the Russians said they were going to cut production. Clearly they haven't done it, and they now said that they would cut, at the time said rather, that they would cut production by 500,000 barrels per day, but now they're going to extend the current production through the end of 2024, counteracting any of the production cuts they promised and any of the production cuts that other OPEC nations have actually engaged in. So we're looking at more crude supply at least than was estimated in the first quarter of this year, and that's weighing on prices. Also, demand worry. Global economic weakness has...
Thank you, Bob, regarding the topics of the WTI and the performances in the market amid increased export of Russian oil, the Ural oil. Let's move to the energy market and see what the standings are this morning regarding the price of WTI and Brent crude oil. The energy market this morning. The market this morning has indicated a slight decline for crude oil, the US crude, the West Texas Intermediary crude, which Bob Icino talked about. It's dropped slightly to by 0.143 points, a negative 0.22% decline. But current price is $71 per barrel. For Brent, which is Nigeria's price benchmark, is $75 per barrel. A slight gain this morning, a 0.1% gain this morning. Natural gas, gasoline, heating oil, coal, a little here, a little there. Let's talk about the metal market next. What the price of the metals are. A quick drop for gold in the morning market, dropping by 2.59 points, a negative 0.13% decline. $1,933 per ounce is the price of gold. For silver is the same story, $23 per ounce, dropping slightly this morning. Copper also on the decline, steel dropping 33 points this morning. 3,709 Chinese yuan per ton is the price of steel, a negative 0.88% decline. And that's the outlook regarding the metal market. Let's look at the agricultural market. What the standings are for soybeans, wheat, palm oil. Soybean price has gained 12 points this morning. The agricultural market is a bit fair in terms of advancing. The bulls seem to be stronger in this market, gaining 0.83% appreciation. Current price for soybeans is $1,489 per bushel. For wheat, the price for wheat is $710 per bushel, gaining 15 points in the morning market. Palm oil is downward by 106 points, 3,621 Malaysian ringgit per ton. Let's talk about the foreign exchange market. Zambian kwacha jumps on looming debt deal. The Zambian kwacha rallied over 10% to touch 17.4 per US dollars in late June, the most in 7 years, after news the country and its official creditors have made significant progress towards a long-awaited debt restructuring deal and are currently financing the final details of that deal. The deal will allow the International Monetary Fund to disburse $188 million, and the standings are quite different. Zambia's official creditors committee met earlier this month to discuss proposals for a specific debt treatment after the country's finance minister, Situmbeko Musekotwene, appealed to creditors for urgent debt relief. The country has been in talks with creditors since 2020 to restructure its debt. That is the state of things regarding Zambia and the kwacha. Let's move to the market and see what the standings of the market are. The euro against the US dollar this morning. The euro against the US dollar is at the 1.09 point mark, gaining 0.0047, no significant Again in the market, a 0.04% appreciation. For the pound against the US dollar, it's 1.27 points. A slight decline in the morning market. Let's look at the state of things regarding the Naira against the majors. The US dollar against the Naira current price is 689 after a massive gain yesterday. For the Euro against the Naira, or rather a slight decline from yesterday's market for the US dollar against the Naira. Yesterday, the market ended at 690 Naira for one US dollar, 1 point drop at the closure of yesterday's market. For the Euro against the Naira, it's 754 Naira equaling 1 euro. It's a gain of 4.04 points for the Euro, a 0.54% appreciation. Similarly with the pound, a slight gain of 0.3623 points over the Naira, 878 Naira equaling 1 pound. Let's look at the state of things at the parallel markets. Naira's performances against the majors. The dollar to Naira, buying rate 760 Naira equaling $1. Moving by 3 points from yesterday's market, which was around 757 Naira to $1. But the selling rate is 755 Naira to $1. The pounds to Naira, at the buying rate is 970 Naira equaling 1 pound. In the black market, and 955 Naira to 1 pound at the selling rate in the parallel market. The Euro to Naira gives an outlook of 827 Naira equaling 1 euro. At the buying rate and selling rate, 815 Naira equaling 1 euro. Let's talk about a cryptocurrency market next. It's been that of positivity for Bitcoin and the rest of the crypto market. The bulls seem to be back in this market. Bitcoin price is $28,925 US dollar. A gain of 757. Market is moving quite fast. 762 at 1 point. A 2.69% appreciation. For Ether, 1,813 US dollar. 27.81 points gain, a 1.56% appreciation. And it's the same scenario with the rest of the crypto market. Let's talk about the Asian stocks. The stock market now. Asian equity markets mostly fell today, tracking losses on Wall Street overnight, as investors cautiously awaited the Fed Chair Jerome Powell's comments for clues on the Red's path. Investors also fretted about China's economy, as the People's Bank of China's rate cuts were deemed insufficient to support growth. Shares in Australia, Hong Kong, and mainland China declined, while Japanese market rose. Here we draw the curtain in today's edition of Business 360. My name is Bladon Kim. Thank you for watching.